We're here in Raleigh, North Carolina, where Florida State loses 47-28. Now back-to-back games where Florida State has given up a combined 106 points to ACC foes Clemson, North Carolina State. There was a lot of news today. New quarterback, new play caller on offense, but the defense really struggled again, and Florida State gets another blowout loss in ACC play, falls to 4-5, and I think 2-5 in the ACC.
Yeah, that wasn't new. The loss in the ACC and the blowout loss, that wasn't new. That's kind of become an old hat around here. The offense I thought was better. I think James Blackman did give them a spark. He didn't make plays with his legs like Tommy Frazier, but he avoided pressure. And hey, he threw it up to number 15, who's maybe one of the more talented receivers in Florida State history. So it'd be a good idea to get him the ball. But the defense was, an abject failure, disaster. I don't know what you want to say. I know the kid's a good quarterback, Finley. He's not that good. I mean, this was an abomination. I feel like I said that last week too, but it's the truth. It's a bad defense, and it played poorly.
Yeah, and it's really strange. You talk to the players; they didn't feel like the effort was a problem.
Right.
They felt like the biggest thing was the penalties, and it really was early on. Jaden Woodby had the personal foul that extended a drive down near the goal line. They had several pass interference calls. Some of them looked questionable.
Yeah.
But the reality is it seems like defensive backs are always trailing the plays, never looking back for the ball, always trying to break up the pass or getting contact as the ball's getting there. And a lot of times those are going to be 50-50 calls. They all went against Florida State to extend drives. NC State had about 410 yards offense, 407 maybe. Ryan Finley had a good day. It wasn't a crazy day.
Right.
But they just kept giving up first downs on penalties. And then I think NC State was 3 out of 3 on fourth downs as well.
Yeah, I mean, 15 penalties is absurd. And I agree. I think a couple of them were bad calls, but not all of them, not all 15. They probably should have been called for 12 penalties. But when you're 31 penalties in 2 games, again, when you're outmanned, which Florida State, kind of has been at least these last 2 games, you can't play dumb, and that's what they do. That's what they've been doing. 31 penalties is nuts. The Woodby penalty, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? There's no need for that. Whether the whistle had blown or not, the play was over. And so you just see that, and you wonder if it's going to click or when it's going to click. And what they can do from Sunday to Friday to make sure that the penalties just get cut by a third. I'm not looking for no penalties. I'm not crazy. I'm not thinking this is Bill Belichick or Nick Saban where they don't get penalized at all. But how about just 7 or maybe 9? Something manageable, man. 15 and 16. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, and they also had some, again, just lining up wrong. They had to call a timeout for a punt.
Yeah,
because they only
10 men on the field.
10 men on the field. Willie Taggart expressed his frustration when you asked him about that. So he was very, very, very frustrated about having the penalties they've had pre-snap or when the ball's not in play. Offensively, though, James Blackman gets the start for DeAndre Francois. Willie wouldn't comment on whether or not DeAndre will be back next week. He did say it was health-related. DeAndre really couldn't ever get over the injuries he got last weekend. James Blackman gets the start. It's kind of interesting that the players weren't told. I mean,
right.
James expected to start because he was getting all the reps with the first team, but the receivers said they didn't know. They also didn't know that Walt Bell was calling the plays. Willie Taggart earlier this year kind of bristled at the idea that maybe he should let Walt Bell call the plays. Tonight he did it. The team didn't even know about it ahead of time. They didn't make a big deal about it. What were your impressions of Walt Bell and what the offense did under his command?
Well, it was better than last week, right? So as we move forward, I know people are very concerned, and rightfully so. I mean, 106 points in 2 games is an FSU record, besting the 1973 0-11 team that gave up 101 points in back-to-back games. They're setting some bad records here. This is an ugly season, one of the worst in school history. But when you're looking forward, will Willie Taggart make the moves necessary? Is he willing to make changes? Well, after game 8, he decides he's not calling the plays. So he isn't stuck in his ways to the point where he's just going to do it my way and that's it. Like he said, he looked in the mirror and said, well, we got to change something. And now there's a lot more to change. And it certainly wasn't a fix-all. It wasn't a magical elixir. But the offense did look better with him not running it. Take for that what you will. It might have had a lot to do with the quarterback and throwing it up to 15. We'll see. But moving forward, as we get through this season and on to next season, what other changes is he going to be willing to make? He's fired people in the past. And when I asked him about having to call a timeout for a punt, I think he used very 4 times when he was talking about how frustrated he was. Very, 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 very frustrated. and he was staring daggers at me. And I wanted to be like, hey, man, I'm not your special teams coach. I'm the one. I counted that you only had 10.
If you need me down there to count the 11.
I'll tell anybody. Tell Tamori and Terry to get his ass on the field and go run down. So I can cuss on this thing, right?
Sure.
That doesn't even count, I don't think. As you move forward, I think this is a guy that will make changes, and he needs to, because obviously through 9 games, he doesn't have the right combination of staff and players.
Yeah, and to clarify, he said part of the reason he wanted to do the change with the play calling was to give him an opportunity to spend more time with other areas of the team, because obviously they've got a lot of issues on this football team right now. And he did say he thought the spirit on the sideline was better. Guys were encouraging each other. He was very complimentary. I'm not saying he felt bad about last week, but I think he wanted to kind of flip the script a little bit. He defended the team. He said, I like my players. He said they played hard. He's trying to encourage them, which maybe going with the carrot instead of the whip, which he did last week. But here they go. Now continue this gauntlet. Next week they go to number 4 Notre Dame, which will be maybe the toughest combined venue and opponent that they've had all season. Then they still have Boston College in Florida. So, even if they made those improvements, I mean, it's a daunting road ahead.
Yeah, but when you look at it, when you're looking for positives, they gave up 12 less points than they did last week. They scored 18 more.
1 less penalty.
And they had 1 less penalty.
If you keep that up, by the end of the year, they'll only be down to 13.
They'll be like 11 or 12 penalties. So there's a lot to look forward to. Obviously we don't expect them to win at Notre Dame. That Notre Dame, that should probably be another blowout. But as you move forward, I mean, I think we know who should be probably the quarterback the rest of the way. That the offense hasn't looked like that all season, and he threw for 421 yards. So let that kid play the last 3 games, regroup after the offseason, during the offseason, and figure out where you're going.
By the way, how crazy is it that Aslan's dressed like that and we're in front of the camera? I mean, one of us should learn how to work a camera.
Man, what are you talking about? This is my look.
My man's got the ascot or whatever it is.
Of course he does. He's Aslan.
But anyway, check out warchant.com for all of our coverage. You're writing a column about James Blackman.
I am.
Throwing your weight behind his campaign to be the
candidacy.
We'll have plenty of other coverage on the defense, what went wrong, things like that, more videos, player interviews, etc. Signing off from Carter Finley Stadium. The best thing is we don't have to come back here for 2 years.
Yeah, we didn't get any pee thrown at us.
That was a bonus.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.